Ahsoka is here. What do we expect from this show? I've said for a little while that based off of the trailers, there's a different feel to this show. It just feels different, something about it. But does that mean that that's going to translate to this being an interesting show, or is this going to just be a copy-paste of what we got in Book of Boba Fett or Obi-Wan Kenobi, just kind of okay storytelling, or maybe even like Mandalorian Season 3, where it was interesting and maybe some fun action scenes, but what really is the point? Why should we be invested? Or is this going to completely blow our minds like Andor? Andor was amazing. You guys know that. Most of my subscribers came during Andor, so you guys would know better than anyone that Andor is very special to me. What kind of show are we about to get? I want to hear you guys in the chat letting me know what kind of show you expect to get from Ahsoka. What do you think is going to happen? We're going to get into that tonight. George Lucas himself is going to make another appearance tonight, so stick around for that. And welcome to Coffee on Korriban. We get into it. My favorite comment of the week comes to us from Rainsama5436, who says, Anakin being a Force ghost is the most unrealistic thing possible after all that he did. Well, that's a great parallel to Christianity, if you know what I'm talking about. Speaking of Christianity, let me bring in my next guest. That is what they call a segue. And this video is what they call a stinger. I'm going to punch him right in the cloak.
I got yeeted!
That never gets old.
No, it sure does not. How are you doing today, sir?
I am doing really well, and kind of carrying on from a little conversation we were having just before the stream started. I do want to say one thing to all of your guests. If you're not already going to the gym, consider going to the gym. It makes your life a lot better.
It does. It really does. And it's not even about like losing weight or anything, but you just feel so much better.
Yes.
Like when people say like, oh, you're not feeling good, just get some exercise, get out and walk around. Like there's actual truth to that.
It is.
It feels so much better. I mean, losing 5 pounds even is amazing. But aside from that, you've obviously been working out. I can tell. You look great. But how have you been doing this week, and what have you been up to?
I've been doing good. I already told you before the stream, I'm trying to get a Kick and a Rumble channel off the ground. So far, that has not been going well, but I'm still learning both platforms. So Fandomology is expanding now beyond YouTube.
Nice. Very nice. That's YouTube is not going to have the major monopoly that it does forever, especially with the way they clamp down on speech. We all know kind of what's going on with that.
Yeah.
Will something like a Rumble ever be as big as YouTube or surpass it? I don't think so. YouTube is Google. If you search something online, Google's going to give you what they want to see. So
exactly.
There's that. But yes, diversify. I need to get my Rumble started as well. I don't know how many Star Wars channels there are on Rumble. That would be interesting.
I know for a fact
out.
that Echo Base Network is on Rumble.
Okay. I would have figured that. I didn't know that, but I'm not surprised at that. So a question to the chat before we get started for everyone watching. What are you expecting out of the Ahsoka show? Like what is the one thing that you expect out of it? That's the question for you guys. And I'll ask that to you, Paul. What are you expecting out of this show?
I'm being halfway joking, but halfway serious with my answer. I expect a show of Ahsoka doing Ahsoka things.
Yeah, I mean that's
with Sabine and Hera along for the ride.
I think that bet's gonna pay out. I don't think you're gonna go wrong with that. Is there anything that you because I know you're not completely invested in loving this show and giving your all for watching it as soon as it releases, but is there anything that you want to see out of the show?
Okay, I do want to see, and I mentioned it last week, I want to see a scene involving Ahsoka, Luke, and the Force Ghost of Anakin together.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's extremely unlikely that it's going to happen. But if I was making this show, and I could only, and if nothing else, that is the one thing that I would put in there. Like
Yes.
have that scene be of Luke telling Ahsoka, I redeemed my father, and perhaps Ahsoka not at first believing him, but then Anakin's Force Ghost showing up. It's true. Here I am.
Yeah. That's something that I would say is necessary. That needs to happen, and it needs to be done well in order for this show to have the impact that something like Andor had. And in a totally different way. Andor was just quality. But setting aside the quality and the dialogue and all of that, this show needs to have something monumental like that. Anakin, Luke, Ahsoka, or even just Anakin, Ahsoka. But we need that scene. So let's say hello to the other people we got in chat. What's the takeaway? Here's a sip for you. I'm doing well.
Doing well also.
A little tired, but yeah. I took my 4-year-old on a date to Fazoli's tonight. And
What's that?
It's like not really fast food, but like a fast-ish Italian restaurant.
Oh, okay.
But we went on a date because she's been doing really well with her reading.
Good.
And so as a reward, I took her on a date.
Awesome.
And she got a brownie. And so probably shouldn't have given her the brownie, but
I gotcha.
so that's what I did today. It was a lot of fun. Nek Badesh, good to see you. Here's a sip for you. Very, very menacing avatar you have.
Yes.
So I'll extend that question back into the chat as well. What are you guys expecting out of this show? I know, Paul, you said that scene, Ahsoka, Luke, and Anakin all together, that's what you want. What am I expecting out of this? Action. That's really the only thing that I'm counting on is for there to be action. Now, with Genevieve O'Reilly coming back as Mon Mothma, I do expect there to be a little bit of politics in it. To what extent, I don't know, but hopefully she brings some of that grounded, realistic, political environment to this show that we had in Andor. Because I think that was a really solid grounding part of that show, was the whole storyline with the politicians and the upper class people, the people that actually pull the strings. We get to see a little bit of insight into that. And I know it's a different timeline, but I really do hope we see a little bit of that. And ultimately, the world building. That's what it comes down to. I want to see additions to the world, filling in the details. Let me zoom in on that timeline and see what it's like in the world. Sometimes they hit it out of the park, like in Andor, like in parts of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and sometimes they don't do that at all. Let's see. What's the takeaways? 5-year-old and him went swimming, and he went swimming today. Very cool.
Awesome.
We went swimming yesterday, trying to get her to be okay with putting her face into the water. It's tough. Very tough. Trying to go with limited expectations, but hoping for at least one Anakin Ahsoka thing. Yeah, pretty much the same as Paul. Leia says, World Between Worlds, Ahsoka seeing the fight between Vader and Anakin. Ooh, that could be really cool if she actually gets to witness that fight.
As in
Never mind. I that's what I thought she meant as well. Obi-Wan and Anakin.
That could be pretty big. As long as she's just witnessing it.
Yes.
As long as she doesn't interfere.
Yeah. And there was a comment, I don't remember who commented it, but it was something along the lines of, if there's going to be multiple timelines in Star Wars, different ways that they could do it. If they go like the Terminator or the Terminator 2 style or Back to the Future style, I'm against the multiverse, multiple realities, and alternate timelines. But one of the ways that they could make it work, according to this comment, and I don't remember who it was there is a timeline. Branches in the timeline are only going to weave themselves back into the one singular proper timeline because it was always going to happen. So with Ezra saving Ahsoka from the Sith temple from Vader, like she dies in the temple. That's a timeline. Yeah. Ezra brings her out and puts her back in so she doesn't die. The argument was that was always going to happen. So it doesn't break the timeline. There's no alternate reality because that's just what happened. If we want to get super into the weeds, watch Tenet and see about multiple timelines weaving in and out with one singular thread of what it's always going to happen.
We never reviewed that movie together.
Did you watch it though, right?
I did watch it a long time ago, but I did watch it.
Oh, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. But yeah, I'm generally very against multiple timelines. The World Between Worlds, I think, is an exception because it's a more of a viewing thing. You can go into that space to look at events.
Right.
I mean, we saw it's not just a teleporter because Palpatine wasn't able to go through it. Mm-hmm. That's a good question. How involved do you think the World Between Worlds is going to be in the Ahsoka show?
We're definitely going to see it because, as we've pretty much all noticed by now, the Ahsoka show logo borrows
the gateway. Yeah,
borrows heavily from it. To what it will be used for, I actually have this just now hit me. What if Ahsoka is trying to protect the World Between Worlds from being used
by the Magistrate and that other Dark Jedi guy?
Perhaps to go back in time and make it so that Palpatine never fell.
Oh, I don't like that.
I know. I don't like it either.
Okay, so I see what you're saying. So what if? Yeah. So what if the Magistrate lady and the beard guy and the Kill Bill emo lightsaber chick are trying to open the portal to reverse the timeline, sort of like a Avengers Endgame, but opposite. Yeah, I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all. I think once you open the door for time travel in a given thing, it cheapens all of the major moments along the way because there's always a possibility that someone from either side can go back in time and correct whatever mistake they made.
Right.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah, I tend to agree, but at the same time, it makes sense for that to be their ultimate goal. Now, granted, they're gonna fail. At least, I hope they fail. Even though, we still gotta tie it to the sequels, and Palpatine does come back in that. But perhaps they get close, but they don't get enough to actually change the timeline. But like I said, even it still is just not a good idea.
Yeah, again, bringing in the possibility of time travel for the average person too. I mean, if normal people, supposedly, the Magistrate lady can go through and utilize the World Between Worlds, I don't like that. I'm all for Force visions. Like, let's say you're meditating in a cave somewhere and you get a Force vision of an event that happens X amount of years in the future.
We've already seen
that's fine. Movie. Exactly. We've seen that. That's established before. Mm-hmm. But to cross into the living force or the cosmic force or whatever, and you yourself transport yourself in time to affect events, I don't like that at all. I don't want any grandfather paradoxes in Star Wars. Yeah. Let's leave that out of it. And I said in my video, my time travel multiverse video, I want there to be a singular timeline to keep the mechanics of the world intact more than I want the sequels to not exist. And so if all of this road leads up to the sequels and the timeline is intact, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. At this point, the only way that the sequels are being unmade is if someone In our universe, in real life, creates a time machine, goes back in time, and prevents George Lucas from selling Star Wars to Disney.
Right.
That's never happening.
Right. And speaking of, did you see my how to accept the sequels video?
I did, and you pretty much took the words right out of my mouth.
That's how I've been feeling about it. Everyone in chat, did you guys see that video, the one I posted yesterday, of how to accept the sequels? Now, it got the exact reaction that I expected, which was the haters that I was speaking to in the video came on in full force in the comments saying, this is ridiculous. You're just a shill for Disney trying to get me to too long didn't read, please. Yeah, I'll explain it. My way to accept the sequels, and again, accept being the key word, not enjoy, not like, not love,
right,
not promote, nothing else. Accept for what they are, not even into your own headcanon, because I'm still iffy on whether I even accept that into my headcanon. But to accept them, you have to realize that Star Wars is a retelling of ancient history. All of these events happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. When you are watching Saving Private Ryan, you're not watching World War II. You're watching a retelling of an event of World War II. Now, if there's cheesy acting or bad directors or weird directorial decisions or awkward creative licenses, that doesn't change those events that actually happened in that history. It's just a bad visualization. So the analogy that I gave is, if you're looking through a window at some beautiful scenery, but the window is all scratched and it's got mud and dirt on it, the scenery is still the same. It's still beautiful and amazing and expansive, but your viewing experience is going to be limited and not as enjoyable. Right. That is the sequels. And so I view the sequels as a poor visualization of Star Wars rather than bad Star Wars. And objectively, they could be bad films, which I think by this point, most people, even the average person, would admit that they're not great movies and they have their flaws. So accepting them for what they are, bad movies, is possible through that lens, because it doesn't corrupt Star Wars. It's just a bad image of it.
And see, for me, it's interesting that you put it all that way, because you're looking at it from, for lack of a better term, an in-universe point of view, or at least you're looking at the story themselves, whereas I'm looking at, I guess you could say, the more out-of-universe thing, where whether we like it or not, the sequels do exist. You can still go to any store that sells movies and buy them, and to pretend otherwise at this point, frankly, is delusional. So
yes.
I guess what you're coming to is you're choosing to accept them, whereas I'm basically having no choice but to accept them. But we still come to the same conclusion.
It's just freeing, letting go of the hatred for them.
Yeah,
I don't hate them anymore, especially after watching something like the Matt Cave edit of The Last Jedi. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was good. I don't like the sequels, never will, but I can't stay angry at them. Because if I stay angry at them, and I hope you get this reference, then a giant flying purple eyebrows will come and attach themselves to my face. And I'll be angry
I don't get
forever.
that reference.
Did you ever watch the Larry Boy cartoons from VeggieTales?
Yes. Which one was that?
That was the very first one, Larry Boy and the Angry Eyebrows.
Was that the first one? I thought the Rumor Weed was the second one. What was the first one? The dinner plate one was the first one.
Yeah, that was Tip from Outer Space. Then there was Rumor Weed, but then they did some 2D
the Angry Eyebrows
ones, and that was the first of those.
Okay, I don't think I ever saw that one. Yeah, and the in universe, someone got it.
Thank you, Dad.
Someone got it. But the in universe perspective is our perspective. We are in universe. We are in the Star Wars universe.
Right.
The Star Wars timeline is our timeline, just a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. So that is the in-universe perspective. Our modern mythology instead of sitting around campfires listening to the elders retell stories from ages ago is watching what a few men with millions of dollars put together for our viewing experience to retell those stories. That's how I see it. So that was what that video was about. Go check it out after the stream or right now or whatever. But that's what I said in that video. So basically, let go of your hate. Don't rob me of my hate. It's all I have left.
I don't want my pain taken away from me. I need my pain.
What's that from?
Star Trek V.
Oh,
Hi,
I was
Phil,
referencing
if you're
Count of Monte
watching.
Cristo. You've seen the Count of Monte Cristo, right? No? Is that on your list?
No. I don't think so, but it is now.
Okay. Put it at the top of your list. The Count of Monte Cristo
Count of
is
Monte
like
Cristo.
top 10 of all time movies. Someone back me up in chat, please. But we're going to get to some of the details about Ahsoka right here. It's with, what's his name from Sound of Freedom? Jim Caviezel. He's the main actor. And Guy Pearce is a co-star.
Okay.
There's probably other versions from older.
Hold on. I take it back. It is added in. Okay. All right. Yeah, it's there.
Yeah,
It's
move it up.
right under Old Yeller and Fifth Element.
I think I saw Old Yeller a while ago. I don't know what Fifth Element is. Move it above those.
Okay.
And a good sandwich. That sounds tasty. I want to know about that. All right, so let's get into a little bit more of the specifics of Ahsoka, because this is kind of like a preview show. It's coming out tomorrow. How excited are we really? And by we, I mean us too, you guys in the chat, but also like the general Star Wars fan. Like, how excited are we really?
I think for me, I'm more excited to see everyone's reaction to it than I am the actual show, because here's the thing: the show
Because
you're
not personally invested.
Yeah, the show could be good, the show could be bad, the show could be the most middling thing ever, but everyone's going to completely run the gauntlet of all possible tastes. Best show ever, worst show ever. It's going to be interesting to see who aligns with what.
Yeah. Yep. And it's funny that we had that during Andor.
We did.
And now the general consensus is that it's the only good Star Wars show. Generally. You still have people that are like, oh, it's just too much talking and not enough action. But generally, people acknowledge it as a great show. So it's weird how that changed over time. But I'm totally with you in seeing how the response is going to be to Ahsoka and seeing what the different responses are going to be and how they line up with each other. So I hope that's a 10 out of 10 for Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah.
But that's a question for you guys in the chat. How excited are you, really, for Ahsoka? We're getting it tomorrow, so it's not like we have a month to wait. It's here tomorrow. So how excited are you, really? I do think, and I will touch on this real quick, it was a great and long overdue decision for Disney to have the release time at a time when people don't have to stay up until the middle of the night to watch it. Like, come on, Disney.
Yes.
What were you doing? I'm on the East Coast. You are as well.
Yeah.
I'm not waiting till 3 a.m. to watch something unless I know it is going to be perfect.
Yeah. And
Like
even
Andor, even then, I got to work in the morning. I'm not waiting till 3. And how lame is it for people on the Pacific Coast to watch it at midnight, which is a totally reasonable hour, and then be talking about it all the next day when I have to go to a full day of work and then get home, put my daughters to bed, and then watch it.
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense. And now I believe they're releasing it at 9 p.m. East Coast, which is what they should have done all along. It creates an event rather than, a trickle of people watching it. Because if you release it at midnight, 3 a.m., some people are going to watch it, but it's not going to be an event. The event is going to kind of be the next night when people get home from work. But now that you're setting it for a time that people can actually watch it in the evening and wind down their day and sit on the couch and enjoy this, it becomes an event just like old TV shows used to be.
I just thought of something. I wonder if part of the bad reception that past shows had gotten because of the super duper late airtime, keeping in mind, of course, bad writing is still bad writing, but I wonder how much of that was made worse, or how much good was perhaps overlooked because everyone was tired and grumpy.
Yeah. I mean, I was not willing to wait up till 3 in the morning.
Neither was I.
Except for the finale. I don't even think I did that for the Mandalorian season 3 finale. It just wasn't worth it.
No,
fully.
no, not at all.
But now that they're able to set it for an evening time slot, the day doesn't matter, Tuesday or Wednesday, but it's able to be now an event. We know that it's coming out in the evening, so everyone in the house gather around, neighbors come over and watch it. We're all going to watch it together because it's going to be available at a time when everyone is awake. So I think that is a long overdue decision on Disney's part. I don't know why they haven't been doing this the whole time. Like, there's something, I guess, kind of special about a midnight premiere. Like, when you go to the movies at midnight and you get to watch the show at a midnight premiere. That's kind of fun. I did that for The Dark Knight Rises. But yeah, exactly what Nick's saying. Why did it take them this long? Because that is something that we've been lacking with the streaming TV shows that release weekly, is an event. When, you think back to the old Walking Dead, or what other Lost,
Game of Thrones, maybe?
Game of Thrones, big name shows that would release one a week. It was always at that, 8/7 Central or whatever time slot. And it was an event. It was like you go out to dinner or something and like, hey, everyone come back to my place. We're going to watch the show because it's on at that time. And that hasn't been the case for, I don't know how other platforms do their releases. I know some of them just drop the whole thing.
Netflix.
But that sort of event has not happened for Star Wars. I do think that is going to help Ahsoka's reception.
Yeah. But again, like we said, if it's bad, then it can only help so much.
Yep. And I'm just receiving word. We do have George Lucas joining the stream in about 5 minutes, so stick around for that. We're going to ask him some questions.
It is fandomology. It will always be fandomology. And I will not have you insulting the name of fandomology. Although if you can do me a favor and tell my friends Cash and Phil that it's okay to play on easy mode on your video games.
I did send him an email saying no more insulting guests, so you should be fine. Should be. I mean, it's George Lucas. You never know.
Yeah.
Netflix has done some split seasons where half comes out in one drop and half in another. Nobody has done the timed release that I'm aware of. Yeah, and the way that Disney has done it thus far has been at midnight, which is not... You can't have people over to do that. It was always... even when I was back on the West Coast, it was still a day after... Well, a couple times it was 9 o'clock. We went over to a friend's house and we watched it or something. But still, most of the time, it was just the day after because you got stuff to do and you got work. So I think that's going to be a huge boost for Ahsoka in terms of gathering excitement week to week.
Right.
If they keep that up.
Real quick, I gotta pop out. I gotta pop out for a second. My brother's calling me.
Okay, sure. All right. And while we are waiting for him, let's jump into the next question. How much Ezra and how much Thrawn are we actually going to see? Is Ezra and Thrawn going to be at the very end of the season? Just, we've built up this far with this separate time plot or timeline and subplot with these other side characters, and then now we are at the end of the season able to see Ezra and Thrawn for like the last episode, or are they going to be a central part of the entire series? What is your thought on that?
I think ultimately Ezra is going to be the end goal aside from, stopping the bad guys, getting him back is going to be the end goal of getting of the three of them: Ahsoka, Hera, and Sabine. Thrawn, I do think, will play. I don't think maybe he might not be in every single episode, but I do believe he'll be in quite a bit of them. But there is one thing I do want to bring up with Thrawn that I feel is necessary to bring up. Those that are going into this show that are hoping that this is going to be just like the Thrawn trilogy of books, it's not going to be.
No, I don't think so.
This is going to be a completely different version of Thrawn. Because for one thing, keep in mind, I have not even close to seen all of Rebels, but I do know one thing that they do that happens way too soon in the timeline compared to Legends is they kill off Rook.
Yes.
So
he was really cool in the books.
Yeah, and the Nogri were a big part of what made Thrawn so intimidating, at least on a personal level, because here's this high up Imperial officer that has a bodyguard of these living nightmares at his beck and call, and now he's not going to have that.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. We will see how that pans out, I guess. Here's a good time to tell you a message from the like button to all of you guys watching.
It calls to you.
Yes.
If you want. You don't have to. But it does call to you. So that is your decision. We got about 60 seconds, I think they're saying. George is popping on. George Lucas is about to join the show in just a minute. So there we go. And the question we'll come back to after that is, how much Anakin are we going to see? He's been teased in the trailers. How much of him are we actually going to see? Anything else on Thrawn and Ezra before we get off of that? I will say that Thrawn looks like he's in position of control in whatever kind of ship he's in when we see him. So I don't think Thrawn is going to be saved for the last episode. It seems like he's being presented as much more of an active villain than just a villain lurking in the shadows until the very end. So I think we'll see a little bit more of him.
I just thought of something that they could do that would make a lot of people mad.
Uh-oh.
They could kill off Thrawn in this show and not have him stick around for whatever the big Avengers Endgame level thing is that the quote-unquote Mandoverse has been building up to.
I don't like that at all. Why would they do that? Why would they do that?
The sad thing is, it's a possibility.
Everything's a possibility. It's Disney.
Yeah.
Look at what they've made over the last couple of years.
Yeah, if they were going to kill off their main huge bad guy in episode 8, who's to say they won't kill off Snoke here? Or, sorry, not Snoke, Thrawn.
The Snoke equivalent.
Yeah.
You're right, and I don't like that. Very possible. All right, I'm going to pop you out because George Lucas is hanging in the background. I'll talk to you in a minute. Got to make way for the man himself, Mr. George Lucas. Is he in? He's in? Okay. All right, Mr. George Lucas, this is AI George.
Yeah, but there's always this little part of you is saying, what am I doing?
I want you to get out of this office right now. Out!
All set. All I need is an idea.
All right, so let's welcome back to the show, Mr. George Lucas. There you are. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm just fine. So fine. Everything's cool, dude.
All right, well, I wasn't going to have you back on the show after last week, insulting my guests and everything, but...
Well, first off, hey, and I just wanted to apologize for what I said last week. I didn't mean what I said about that Tarkin. It's a very nice painting. Tarkin is such an underappreciated character.
Oh, that's very kind of you. I really do appreciate it. I mean, you're always welcome here, but no, I really do appreciate it. That's very kind of you. So I wanted to just come right out and ask you, how are you feeling about tomorrow's premiere of the Ahsoka show? Are you even going to watch it?
And I don't think it'll do well at all. be. Oh, I'm on that. Mom, crashing down like the stock market, all the way down. Big to do this time.
What are
Huh.
you drinking?
What, me? No. Drinks on Daco. It's just coffee.
This is coffee.
It's not going to end well.
I
World between worlds and all that.
Okay, George.
Retcon the
No,
sequel,
George.
you say.
George, come on. Sorry, guys. This has been AI George.
Yeah, but there's always this little part in you is saying, what am I doing?
I want you to get out of this office right now. Out!
All set. All I need is an idea.
Sorry, guys. I don't think that was coffee that he was drinking. But it's George Lucas. You gotta have him. I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. I'll make sure the creator of Star Wars is on his A game next time I bring him onto the stream. Speaking of A game, say hello to this guy again.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Yeah, that.
What do you think he was drinking?
I think he was telling the truth that he was drinking coffee, but I don't think he was being honest on all of the ingredients.
Okay. Oh, so we're talking Buddy the Elf coffee.
Yep.
Okay. I see what we're talking. A national something anyway. I just love the fact that we can create George Lucas and talk to him.
Yes.
That's so fun.
And to actual George Lucas, if you're seeing this, hi, thank you for Star Wars. Sorry for embarrassing you.
Yes. I will let you make fun of my Tarkin painting all day.
Yes.
If you'd like. All right, so let's get onto the subject of how much Anakin are we going to see in this show. We kind of touched on it before,
man.
between the holograms and Force ghosts and all that stuff, but how much are we going to see? And a better frame of reference for that question is, are we going to see more or less than we did of Anakin in Obi-Wan Kenobi?
I think at the absolute minimum, it's gonna be the same, if
same.
not a
That's
little
what I'm
bit
feeling.
more. That's what my gut says.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's about the same.
And let me clarify something: recordings don't count for me.
Correct.
If it's recordings don't count. I'm talking like actually see either a flashback of Anakin or him in the present as a Force ghost.
Neck is saying more than Kenobi. Do you think they learned any lessons from Kenobi and how they added Anakin into the story? Or do you think that these are different productions and they're just making what they're making and it doesn't matter?
I think, honestly, they could have learned some lessons. It's just the question. Well, here's the thing. Could they have learned their lesson? Yes. But that's assuming that they actually listened to the complaints instead of just writing us off as whatever ist or phobe happens to be trendy.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, I don't think that there's any correlation between the reaction that we give as fans and what they put into future products. Yeah, exactly. Did they learn any lessons?
Yeah.
No. No. Sequels to now, there's no lessons being learned.
No, not at all.
There's no lessons being learned. Andor did really well because it was a separate production house with a totally separate idea that I think played really well. But yeah, different. I think it's going to be about the same level of Anakin in this show as there was in Kenobi. I think he'll be used differently because obviously it was a flashback that we saw him in during his training. I do think he will come back and have an active role in communicating with Ahsoka. Probably going to be in the form of a Force ghost and talking with her, giving her advice and stuff. Sort of the way, which actually would be a really nice parallel to the way that old Ben was still helping Luke in Force ghost form.
Yeah.
I think if they do that, it'll set up a nice parallel. It'll give Anakin a really good role at that time. Yeah, oh, great point. Great point. I hope that Anakin has an arc of some sort and he's not just a there character.
And that kind of, and something I just thought of kind of going along with that, they need to somehow in this show clarify whether or not Anakin is still the chosen one in this new era of Disney ownership. Because everyone has made the assumption, either those that support her or those that don't support her. Everyone has kind of gone off the assumption now that Rey has replaced Anakin as the chosen one because she was the one that ultimately defeated Palpatine once and for all.
Yes.
But at the same time, yes, there is that line that he says in Rise of Skywalker, bring back the balance as I did. Who's the real chosen one here?
Right. We need to establish that and make it clear that Anakin was the chosen one. Whatever happens after that, he was the chosen one. And I think it's also really important, kind of what's the takeaway saying here, where Anakin needs a story arc or character arc. I think it's also really important that Ahsoka has a character arc in this show. Yeah. Because that Ahsoka fatigue that everyone's been talking about, if she doesn't have an arc in this and she's a reactionary protagonist where she doesn't change throughout this series, she just reacts to the events that happen around her, that's not going to be good. That's where we get into what was the point of this show territory. For her to have some sort of, like, show her being the gray Jedi, the very cynical, the Jedi were terrible, but also like the dark side, like walking in the beginning of the series where she is that very stoic, not giving into emotion or anything, and then as she sees Anakin come back and she sees that there is hope for the light side of the Force, not just for the gray. My point is just show us some form of change in her character.
I agree. I definitely agree with that, but the reason that I cringed at that specific path that you laid out is because that is scarily close to the character arc that Obi-Wan did in Kenobi. The Jedi were failures rings very similar in my ears too. The fight is done. We lost. Take your lightsaber and bury it in the sand.
You're right. I don't like that. I don't like it at all. All right, next topic. Do you think there's going to be... Oh, go ahead.
I want to clarify something here. I am not trying to be negative about any of this. I want this show to be good.
Yeah, please do be the advocate of Satan in this conversation. I appreciate that.
Even though I believe in God.
Of course. Too much focus on the side characters. Do you think this bearded daddy of this dark Jedi with the red lightsaber and the emo Kill Bill chick are going to have too prominent a role in this show where it detracts from the actual story? In the same way that Reva was too much of a side distraction from the storyline in Obi-Wan Kenobi.
They've done it once before. They could do it again. But the thing with these guys is what the takeaway says here. The Guitar Father is I like that. But no, from what we've seen, I don't get that gut feeling from them that they will do that. I do think the show is still
that's kind of what Nick's saying right there.
Ahsoka and Hera and Sabine. Could I be wrong? Yes. But again, like Nick said, they seem like, especially in the case of the one old guy who is a seasoned actor, rest in peace to him, they already seem like much better written and acted characters.
Yeah.
Moses Ingram clearly did her best with what she could. With
what she was given. I will grant that.
But it just did not go over well.
I think and this is beside the point of too much too much focus on the side characters. Aside from that, I think, and this is exactly what Father Time would say if he was here, they need to have an event in the first episode that kicks us off into the rest of the series. They need to have that event, or was that you that said that?
That was me last week that said that they need to have something, because that's something that every single show since Book of Boba Fett has lacked, is something that happens in the first episode that puts butts in seats. And if I'm not mistaken, what I said and if I remember correctly, what I said last time was have that moment be Luke meeting with Ahsoka and saying Anakin's redeemed.
Yes.
Or something of that magnitude.
Yeah, there needs to be something to give us a reason to watch this. Whether that is an amazing action scene, and I don't lean towards that because action is, a dozen for a dime, but it can be a major action scene that catapults us into the rest of the season thinking like, okay, this is going to be a good show. If that's what we got in the first 2 episodes, that's going to be amazing. And again, sort of like Andor, maybe there's a reason they're doing this double episode premiere like we got the first 3 with Andor. Maybe this is like a little mini arc that we need to have as the canon that launches us into the series. One episode to set it up, the other one to capitalize on it and give us the feeling of, okay, this is going to be really good. I really hope that's the case. Not putting too much weight behind it. I can't get that enthused because of the track record, but it does seem like this is a similar situation to Andor, where they changed the premiere to grab the attention in the first few episodes. Yes. Space Jockey, good to see you here. Here's a sip for you. Yes, I am excited for Andor. I am excited.
Andor.
Ahsoka. Coffee doesn't help when it's almost midnight.
True.
It's been a long day. But there does need to be that butts in seats moment kicking it off, whether action or something revolutionary like... Here's a sip for you. But yeah, there needs to be something to kick us off into the rest of the season. What if this show is just a bunch of blah? Or if you're a metal fan, blah.
First off, I wish I could distort my voice like that, but
it's not that hard.
I think for my answer, can you go ahead and bring up the next one too?
Yeah.
So what if it's bad? What if it's good?
We'll lump those in together. What if this show is mediocre or not good? Just the below average to bad. What will the larger ramifications be for that?
This could be just me being jaded saying this, and I would like to be wrong, but I think regardless whether it's bad, good, or mediocre, little to nothing's going to change as far as the fans are concerned. You're still going to have those that are hardcore anti-Disney Star Wars. You're still going to have the people that are hardcore pro-Disney Star Wars. I'm not going to call them shills because I hate that word. And then you're still going to have the people that are just completely checked out.
Yeah, which
little to nothing's going to change.
I mean, it seems really cliche to hear the people that say, "If this show is bad, I'm done with Star Wars forever."
Yeah,
but if you keep losing chunks of those people with every show, eventually there's not going to be enough consumers to buy your product to keep it sustainable. Disney's already dealing with a whole lot of that in the first place, big time. I'm worried in the next 2 or 3 years we might not even get any more Star Wars shows because it's not going to be a priority for them to put that much resources into creating Star Wars content.
And it's funny you bring up the whole, if this show sucks, I'm done with Star Wars. That's exactly what I said about Kenobi. And here I am still talking about it. I am Star Wars for life. For better or worse, in sickness and health, I am Star Wars for life. Yes, this is an abusive relationship. But I am the long-standing spouse, the long-suffering spouse that will keep trying to make the relationship work because I love it. When everyone's telling me I shouldn't. Because I still have hope that maybe we won't get back to the full-on glory days of the OT and the prequels, but just something consistently good.
Yeah. Maybe I can't recall specifically, but that may be because of the writer strike thing.
Which everything's on hiatus now.
Yeah. So I don't know. But what if it's bad? I think it's just going to be more of the same.
Yeah.
But repeated times, like, I mean, how willing are people to stick with the brand after that? I don't know. And Ahsoka is a lot of people's favorite characters. Mm-hmm. So, you're right, Nick. It is. But it's just going to solidify Star Wars as a mediocre brand.
It is.
From this point going forward, and I don't think after a bad Ahsoka, Andor Season 2 can remedy any of that.
No, because
a great Ahsoka and a great Andor Season 2 will be very powerful.
Right. Because we liked Andor. Granted, it took me longer to come around to that than you did, but we both liked Andor. But so many people just completely slept on it because they thought, like I did.
And I think a lot of people did go back and watch it and were actually impressed with it. I do think that's the case.
But the point is, they slept on it at first. Could not the same thing happen with Andor Season 2?
Yeah, and that's why this show is really going to dictate. For me, it's not going to change anything. I'm fully invested in Andor Season 2. But for general audiences, that's absolutely going to play a part. Mars V, good to see you. I don't know if I've seen you before.
I like the profile picture.
Yes, very cool. We're both musicians here. It has nothing to do with guitars, but...
You've got one behind you. That counts.
There it is. There's my Schecter back there. I love that thing. I expect mediocre at best. Yeah, that's kind of all I would put my money on. Mm-hmm. I really want to be wrong. I really want this show to be great. I'm not betting on it. To see a timeliness of viewership, timeline of viewership growth or drop off throughout all of the shows, that would be good to.
It would
check on to see. All right. The alternative. What if it's great?
Okay. If it is great, like I'm talking, it's the best thing since the return of Luke Skywalker in Mando Season 2. That could potentially bring some people back. But I think that's about the best you could hope for is some people. Maybe that's a couple dozen, maybe that's a couple hundred, maybe if you're lucky, a couple thousand. But there's still going to be those people, for better or worse, that will not touch what anything Disney Star Wars is doing because it's Disney Star Wars.
Yeah. Sus T says, I'm just too used to the Clone Wars Ahsoka that I'm going to be whelmed with the actress. Not her fault, but still.
I can definitely see that.
And that's something that you're going to have to get over. Some people feel the same way about replacing what's his name at the end of Return of the Jedi with Force Ghost Anakin, Hayden Christensen. It doesn't sit well with some people.
Right.
So, if it's great, I'll be very happy, but I don't think it will change a whole lot. Disney's very large and probably already have other Star Wars shows on production. Yeah, I don't think so, but I will say, if this show is the same flavor as the Mandalorian, but they corrected a lot of the things that the Mandalorian got wrong, that will prove to me whether it's true or not that they're making the corrections they need to give us the products that we want. So if it's great, it's a possibility that they are learning from the past shows. But still, by the time Obi-Wan Kenobi came out, you would think that they would have figured that out by then.
Exactly.
But there was a comment from, I don't remember who it was. Actually, I think it was Aiden. I think it was Aiden S. that said, as long as there is a hope for future Star Wars, I have hope that there can be a change and that it will get better someday. That's a very optimistic way to look at it, probably more optimistic than I would be. But if we see the Ahsoka show be good to great, or even just decent, pretty good, not offensive, that can be hope, a sign of hope that we will be getting better shows in the future. Like let's say the writing is thoroughly flushed out in this show, which it hasn't been obviously in previous shows. That'll be a sign to me that, like, okay, they're actually getting some proper creative minds in the right roles in this. Right now, I don't have a whole lot of hope for that, but if it pans out that way, then absolutely that's a good sign.
Yeah. And of course, even if these lessons are learned, they're still going to, even if these lessons are learned and we do get back to that point where Star Wars is no longer what we know it as today, there's still going to be just some bad stuff that comes out because, frankly, what else are you expecting? It's a product made by flawed people. So naturally, there's going to be some things that come out that just aren't up to par. But I'd rather that happen than something where it's like, did you even try? I'd rather see someone give their all and fail than put in the least amount of effort possible and just deliver me a train wreck.
Yeah, just please don't offend me. Don't insult my love for this franchise.
And I mean that both in Star Wars and in church, by the way.
I forgot exactly what you said. Okay. Talk to you about it later. But to the chat, any final thoughts before we get Ahsoka? Anything you're feeling before we jump in and there's no turning back?
Keep your hands, arms inside the vehicle at all times. Stay strapped in and enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
We're strapped in the car.
Or whatever it is.
We're strapped in the car. We're about to start going up that chain lift.
Mm-hmm.
The moment we're done watching season 1 is when we're going down.
Is that the beard guy?
Yes.
Okay. I gotcha. Speaking of chain lift and down, what theme park did you say was closest to you again?
King's Dominion.
King's Dominion. Okay. I think I'm like 6 hours away from you, and my wife and I were talking about a weekend trip over to to you and the theme park, whatever you're closest to, at some point. Because 6 hours isn't too far. We can do that in a weekend. I wouldn't have to take off any time of work for that. But yeah, we can make that work at some point.
You should.
You gonna do a stream after you watch the first episode, or wait till the season is over? I will do. So I'm not going to do reactions to every episode this time. It's too much editing work, not enough payoff in YouTube views. And I don't like battling Disney with the copyright stuff on YouTube. It's a huge pain in the neck, and it takes way more time than it's worth. So I'm not reacting to each one. What I might do, because honestly, setting up this whole studio and tearing it down is quicker than even doing a rough edit of the of like the final version of a reaction video. So what I might do is myself and my wife set up the studio, do a video, like a raw one take, 10 minutes, our thoughts on the episode, doing kind of like a talk through, breakdown, and analysis. And then throughout the rest of the week, do my normal little mini dive videos, like the 2 or 3 minute videos where I talk about a particular aspect of that episode, like I did with the previous shows. So that's my plan, what I'm going to do with this. As far as streaming, I don't know that I will. I probably will keep Mondays as my streaming day. But if it seems like the excitement for the next episode kind of dies down towards the end of the week, I might change that to like a Friday stream or something.
Right.
So we'll see.
I will probably on Fandomology do streams the nights. So if it's airing Tuesday night, Wednesday night will be the review stream for Fandomology, which of course, if you're available, you're welcome to be part of.
Cool.
But that's what it's going to be for me.
Yeah, and that's what I'm aiming for is Tuesday, and I hope they're going to save this release schedule time for Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock Eastern. Bro, that is amazing. Was that one as hard as the last one? If so, that is amazing. I'm really proud of you.
What's
So
this?
Good job. He's going to EMT school, and the exams are really hard. So he got a 93 on his third exam. So
good job.
Solid, very solid. Call me a little bit later tonight. Almost as hard. Yeah, great job, dude. But yeah, I'm thinking after the episode, I will film we'll watch it at 9 o'clock if that's the release time. And then the next day on the Wednesday, we'll have the video of myself and my wife discussing it. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Will be my schedule. And that'll be an edited video. So if I'm available on Wednesdays, I'll jump on your stream. But everyone watching, you better be subscribed to Paul of the Fandomology.
Yes.
The Fandomology. Master Paul of the Fandom Star Wars Losers. Thanks, George. But yeah, if you're not subscribed to him, help him out. You're very close to 500, right?
Yeah, I'm sitting at last look. In fact, I'm going to look right now.
Bro, have you seen Matt Cave recently?
Yeah, he's getting up there.
He's going to pass me really quick.
477.
Nice. So if you're not subscribed to Fandomology, please do so. And I would appreciate it. If you haven't already liked this stream and you want to, you can, because as always, the like button.
It calls to you.
Yes. And one last thing I want to mention too. I mentioned it last week, but just as a reminder, very soon, me and Coffee on Korriban here will be meeting up. I'll be traveling down to his area. And did you yet put the thing out on your community tab asking for what sort of content?
I did not. No, okay. I'll ask Discord first and see if we can come up with any ideas. And then as we get a little bit closer, I'll put out a community post and we'll see what's going on.
And I'll do the same. But yeah, you guys that are watching, and of course I'll bring this up on my channel, be thinking about what sort of content that you might want to see from Coffee on Korriban and myself when we're both in the same room together.
Ooh, we'll talk a little bit more after the stream, but what do you... Yeah, we'll talk after the stream ends.
Okay.
We'll come up with something. I figured something out that we could do that might be fun. But anyway, that's pretty much going to be it for the show tonight. And appreciate all of you guys stopping by. Paul, as always, thank you for coming on. Not a very organized show, but I mean, it's the night before Ahsoka, so we're just hanging out and talking just like it should be. So thank you everyone for stopping by. If you've been here from the very beginning of the stream, I really appreciate your time. May the stash be with you, and I will see you wherever I happen to see you in the galaxy.